Well, here we are, guys. It's been a long day, and I want to start by making sure that I recognize and honor the territory upon which we're on. So I want to say thank you to the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Coast Salish peoples whose unceded traditional territory we get to live, work, and play on, right? As someone who wasn't born here, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, thank you for the introduction. I'm learning to say thank you for that. It's very overwhelming to hear that. It's new for me, so I'm still trying that on for size. If you don't care about successful business, if you don't care about your relationships with your family members, people that you love, your friends, this is a good time to leave the room. Because I want to help you, I want to impact you today. I have 15 minutes. I wish I had 15 hours or 15 days for that matter. But I want to make sure I leave you with an impression. I want to leave you with a conversation piece that's going to inspire you, hopefully, to be more than you already are. In fact, to learn to be the real you. Yeah? So please put your cell phones away. Yes, I'm looking at you, my friend. I would like your attention for 15 minutes, okay? So, listen, I'm going to talk today about if your life is a house, you are its foundation. And it's a really important topic to me because, like Azuka said, I've read books, I've gone through studies and everything else, university and you name it, but this is what I've actually learned through life. And it's changed my life. In business, in my marriage, as a father, as a leader in the community, it's been absolutely transformative. So when I talk about your life as a house, I want you to think about the different roles you have in your life. So picture a house, and each room could be your relationship with your spouse, it could be your relationship with your child, with your friend, with your siblings, with your parents, whoever it is. That's the most important piece, that every single role you have is a room in this house. Well, the question really is, what's the foundation? Well, let me tell you about my foundation. I was born and raised in Germany a long time ago. Not too long, because I'm not that old, but a long time ago. And it was at a time when my parents were learning about how to be healthy human beings. And at that time, they hadn't learned that yet. So in the presence of genuine love and care, there was an absence of capacity. I was raised in an environment where we were the only black family in town, not the neighborhood, in town. So again, one would think today, well, that's not a big deal. We're the only black family in town, who cares? Well, it came, unfortunately, with lots and lots of adversity. I was taught that what you become, I was taught that the title you have will define you, will earn your respect. Well, my father became a doctor, mom, nurse, midwife, my eldest sister, a pharmacist, my youngest brother, before he passed, unfortunately, was in medical school. But none of that mattered, because at that time, we were still seen as not even second-class citizens. I remember children forcing my father to run home from work because they would taunt him along the way, calling him names. I remember those people who were supposed to be safe. You know, the bus driver, the person delivering your mail, the neighbor. Those are supposed to be all the safe people. But I didn't learn that those people were safe for me and my family. So see, I learned that my value was non-existent. I learned that I was ugly, stupid, dumb, incompetent, that my people couldn't achieve, that we weren't anything at all. And so I started to take that on. I believed it. And can you blame me? I was a kid, so obviously the majority ruled, and if they tell you that's who you are, then that's who you are. I took it on as what I was really about. And then my goal became to make sure that I hid my weaknesses. Well, obviously, because I believed that my weaknesses were an extension of my value, which is really non-existent, the goal beyond that became that I had to control what I did because I couldn't control who I am, because that apparently was already written in stone. So see, the thing that happened then was that I learned that control was a thing to do, how I appear. In fact, I remember I won't tell you which parent it was, so I don't get in trouble. But I was buying a new car. Anybody ever bought a new car? Yeah, so come on guys, be awake. Anyone? Okay, fair enough, all right, good. So I was so excited to buy a new car. I had a little bit of cash. I was going to put a down payment down. I was so excited. And I remember this parent saying to me, make sure you buy the car for who you want to be as opposed to who you are. Make sure you buy the kind of car that will tell people who you want to be as opposed to who you are. Now, I understand the intention behind this. I'm sure that my parent had bar none, nothing but love in their heart. But it was another reinforcement that who I was not good enough. That who you see me to be right now is not good enough, because what you need to see is who I will be. Because being better than how I am now is a true value of me. So, I mean, we can agree that then the running formula is, however I am now is never good enough. However I am tomorrow is never good enough. However I am next year will not be good enough, because I have to keep striving for more. See, in business, we get caught up with that, right? We say to ourselves, well, here's a goal we want to achieve. We want to make X amount of clients, X amount of money. We want to get this promotion, that promotion. And we forget that that doesn't make you valuable. Nothing to do with that. I will humbly suggest to you that you are already good enough. Humbly. So, listen, I'm going to push you a little bit. Just a little bit. It is just after 2 o'clock. You're having the lunch hangover. I can see in some of your eyes. I'm going to push you a little bit, okay? Now, I will preface by saying you will be safe. I won't make you feel vulnerable, but I want to push you a little bit. Is that okay with you guys? Yeah, is that all right? Good. Okay, all right, listen to this. So you've been networking all morning, right? All day. You've been introducing yourself with business cards. It's really awesome, very sexy. It looks awesome. However, I want you now to stand up. Please stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Good. All right, so what I want you to do is turn to someone around you and introduce yourself by name. Say, my name is X1, whatever your name is. I know you know each other already, but go ahead. Please go ahead. Good. Excellent. Good. Excellent. Leave it at that. Good. Excellent. You are great with that. By the way, whoever was nervous about introducing yourselves, at least now you have an opportunity, because I told you need to. All right. So let's bring it down again. Here we go. Let's come back. Now here's the challenge. I want you all to think about what you're most ashamed of in yourself, what you're most insecure about. Think about what you're most insecure about yourself. Just think about that. Everybody got it? And be honest, everyone's insecure. Actually, let me ask you, has anybody ever felt insecure? Has anybody not felt insecure? All right, good. So we're all humans. Good. I thought I was almost scanning for aliens. All right, so listen. So think about what you're most insecure about. And this time, introduce yourself and say, my name is, and my greatest insecurity is, but don't fill in the blank, please. Okay, this is where you're safe. Don't fill in the blank. Just say, hello, my name is, and my greatest insecurity about myself is, do not fill in the blank. Go ahead, off you go. All right. Good job, good job, good job. Now, please, the last thing we'll do is turn to that same person and say, thank you for not judging me the way that I judge myself. Thank you for not judging me the way that I judge myself. And then grab your seat again. Good, good job. Well done, guys. Give yourself a round of applause. Very brave group of people. Excellent, good. Excellent. All right, have a seat. See, what I battled the most was my insecurities. So I had to make sure, because I thought my weaknesses represented my value, who I am, that I don't show this to you. So I presented as a superhero. I tried to achieve in school because, again, I could control it. I would study hard enough and do well enough, and I was lucky enough to do well enough in school. I'd excel in sports, and whatever I did, I always tried to do as well as I could. But you know, on the inside, this is how I felt. But I couldn't show this to anybody, right? Because, again, my weakness is my value. And if you know my value, then you will judge me in the way that I judge myself, and then I truly am nothing. So I believed that my achievements equaled my value. And I didn't understand that what drove me was ultimately fear of failure. Because fear of failure confirmed to me what all those people had said. Because if I don't do well in business, well, of course then I'm not a smart enough person, right? Because again, my people don't do well in business. If I don't do well in school, well, of course that is true because maybe somebody said to me, in fact, I remember a dean at a university here locally said, your people don't really do well with this program. Oh, no, meanwhile, my family has doctors, lawyers, psychologists, financial managers. We are intelligent. But I had to combat all those messages. And it was really, really tough. So we have this thing called this inner critic. I think you can all relate to this. There's a gentleman, Stephen Pressfield, who wrote this book, The War of Art, not to be mistaken with the art of war. The War of Art. And so Stephen Pressfield in this book that actually was designed for people who are writers, so he actually wrote about writer's block, didn't really know the kind of book he was really writing. The book he wrote was for all of us. And he talked about this thing inside of us that he called the resistance. This thing inside of us that doesn't want us to thrive. See, what it'll do, and it's very cunning, it is so smart. It'll pick a little truth about you, and it'll spin a whole bunch of lies around that. So it's hard to actually hear what the real message is. And the only purpose of this inner critic is to stop you from thriving. It's to tell you that you're not smart enough to acquire this company. You're not smart enough to apply for this job. You're not happy enough or smart enough or good looking enough. And you're too tall, too short, too fat, too thin, too anything. Not enough of anything. This voice is a filthy liar. But we believe it. And see, what it does is it recalibrates our radar. So again, I take you back to me buying one of my first cars, and I remember it took me a while. I'm one of those geeks, so I will read lots and then do all the stats and go, okay, is this going to be a good car, and will it last long enough? So I did all this, and it took me about 3 weeks. My wife was very annoyed with me, but it's one of those things. Lo and behold, before I bought the car, all I saw was that particular make and model everywhere, because my radar was calibrated right to that particular vehicle. Now, with our insecurities, our inner critic, the inner critic will force you, will encourage you, will embrace you to find evidence that confirms those lies about you. And there's evidence. I've failed. It's true. I have not done well enough in certain courses in school. In fact, one of the truth is I actually flunked out of university after my first year because I didn't know how to study well enough. Beforehand, I got away with my talent, and then I thought, well, talent will take me far enough. My 16-year-old son is teaching me otherwise. He's saying, well, hang on, Dad, right? You got to study. So I had to study and apply myself in order to get back into the program in order to become what I am now. Or I should say, to do what I do now. Yeah? So that inner critic is very, very cunning. Be careful. So I had to ask myself then, what is the point here? What actually is my value? Is it what they said about me, that I'm too dark, too ugly, too stupid, too dumb, I can't achieve? And if that is not the truth, what could be the truth? By the way, thank you guys for donating your baby pictures. I really appreciate that. No, I'm kidding, it wasn't you. But listen, so here's the thing. Has anybody ever been around babies? By show of hands? Okay. Has anybody ever been a baby? All right, fair enough. So the thing is, and I know somebody talked about it earlier, in fact, Azuka, you talk about kids so much. As babies, you can't even hold up your head. You can't even go to the bathroom. I mean, that's basic, right? You can't even stand. And yet, we love these creatures. They're parasites. If we think about it, if we take the love out of it, and everybody who knows me knows that I love kids. However, if you think about just the biology of it, they're complete utter parasites, right? They grow inside, take up the resources. And those of you who are mothers, you're like, oh yeah, definitely. Anyhow, so they take up the resource, and they're born, and they can't do anything for themselves. And then they take up the energy of the host parent, the host body, right, in order to somehow, eventually, when they turn 38, gain independence. It's insane. It's insane. And yet, we love them. I've yet to show any of these pictures. People go, oh, that's ugly. We love them. They have so much value to us. And I look around, and when I asked you to stand up, all of you did. All your heads are straight. It's awesome. You're doing a great job holding your head up. I've seen you guys walk to the bathroom. I'm not stalking you, by the way, but I've seen people go to the bathroom. You seem to be toilet trained. Good for you. So the thing is, you can do so much more now than you could do when you were born. And yet you have the audacity to put yourself down. You have the audacity not to believe in yourself. You have the audacity to tell yourself that you're not good enough, you're not handsome enough, not pretty enough. You have the audacity to tell you that you are too fat, too thin, too tall, too short. You have the audacity to put yourself down. How dare you? You are more now than you ever have been. Do not believe the lies of that inner critic. I humbly submit. My voice is broke. I think I need to drink some water. I'll will in a second. I want to humbly submit to you that your education is important, your relationships are important, fair enough, but the most important thing is you. Your marriage, how you parent, how you show up at work, how you lead, how you follow, how you grow, all that depends on you. Now, we schedule everything, right? So we schedule exercise, we go to the gym and do our thing, and then we schedule go to the grocery store because I got to get dinner, right? You got to go to the grocery store and get whatever groceries you need, and we schedule time for personal, maybe personal development here and there, maybe, but we schedule everything in life, and typically we come last. I work with so many people in my office who are amazing and yet put themselves last. They don't understand that however they are, they take with them to every single situation. I work with CEOs and managers, executives, and they come in clueless because, again, power gives you privilege. You have to acknowledge your shortcomings. I'll say it again. Power gives you privilege to not have to account for your shortcomings. Because everyone answers to you, right? But I say to you, power is the responsibility to make sure that you take care of yourself, that you get rid of your stuff so your stuff doesn't get in the way of people who are trying to grow. So that your stuff doesn't get in your own way. But it's not an easy journey. I know this from personal experience. I had an awakening several years ago, and I literally overturned every single stone in my life. Very daunting, says the clinical counselor, right? Very, very daunting. But I had to evaluate my relationship with my parents, what their story was, what their capacity was to raise me. And it wasn't questioning whether they loved me or not. That was never the issue. It was to question whether they had the capacity to lead by example, whether they had the capacity to help me to become the person that I was, not the person that they needed me to be. I have to evaluate my environment and say, hang on a second. So all these people are telling me who I am and what my value is and what I can bring to life. Well, what's the bigger story there? Do the masses have the right to tell you who you are? Are they always right? Is this majority rule? Well, it can't be majority rule because there was a time when we believed, when I say we collective society, that women shouldn't vote. In fact, I think the saying was that women weren't smart enough to vote. Right? Because the brain development of women is kind of challenging, so therefore we shouldn't have those little creatures vote. I am so glad we now are starting to understand the power and importance of women. There was a time when people with my skin couldn't stand you and talk to you. I would have been the person maybe clearing up your plate all the time, if allowed in the room. And if I was allowed in the room, I would have to sit in the back because I wasn't allowed to sit in the front. Can we agree that the masses then were wrong? I'm looking for your heads to nod. Good, thank you. You had me scared for a second. Woo! Okay, all right. But anyhow, there are reasons that stop us from wanting to investigate our growth. We are afraid of stepping out of, and Azuka, I know you talked about comfort zone. I call it comfortable discomfort because it's familiar, right? And this ridiculous saying, and I hope you agree, this ridiculous saying, better the devil you know than devil you don't know. Utter rubbish. Why would you want to put up with the devil you know? Why would we do the devil in the first place? Let us get away from that and step into something that makes more sense. There are people who have gotten used to you, Could be family members, co-workers, friends, whoever it is, and they've gotten used to this one version of you that has existed so far. So when you change, and I actually prefer the word transform, when you transform, they may not be on board. They might say, oh, you're a terrible friend. What, you're becoming selfish now? The real people in your life, those who genuinely care about you, will be the ones stoking your fire. They'll say, listen, I know we're changing, our relationship is changing, but I'm happy for you because you're brave enough to dare to try and discover who you really are. And because I love you, I want you to be the real version of you. We have sometimes cultural values where we're not allowed to speak up, question adults, those kind of things. I know my cultural background is my mother's Jamaican, about 5'2". My father's from Ghana. And the cultural values in my culture are that you don't ever question adults. Or now that I am an adult, sort of, you don't question elders. But see, what they failed to teach me was that elders have to earn the respect of being elders. So because I wasn't allowed to question, I had to go along with everything that they said. And not everything they said made sense. I look at my son, I have to submit honestly and humbly that not everything dad says is right. But how can we evolve if we stop the next generation from asking questions? Because we're so insecure about ourselves. Because we need power and authority. Because if someone questions us, then it undermines our authority. Leaders, please, I beg of you, invite questions. Invite curiosity. Invite conflict. Because that is such a fertile ground for growth. If we get ego out of the way, and we just say, you know what, let's talk about this, figure it out, different ideas, that's when the magic happens. Not when we say, I'm always right, don't ever question me, I'm your boss, you're going to get fired if you become too belligerent, so shut up. What are we teaching that person? Sure, we lose our temper here and there, but we need to be accountable. We need to be accountable, because if we're not, what we're doing, we're creating a culture where people aren't empowered. And part of what I do is I create cultures and organizations that are healthier, authentic, real, more effective, more efficient. And I look at the leadership first and I say, okay, if you're leading by example, show me how you live your life, not how you run the business. Show me how you live your life, and you'll show me how you run your business. Do not be afraid of those things that hold you back, those obligations. I think it's time to be brave. You know, we live in a world where we're told that something's always wrong with us. In my industry, in the healthcare industry, we are quick to tell you about your dysfunction, right? And incidentally, as an aside, if you identify as female in here and you go to a physician, psychiatrist, you are significantly more likely to be diagnosed with some sort of disorder and significantly more likely to walk off with medication. Not because women are more likely to have disorders or to need medication, but because healthcare is not a bubble isolated from the injustice of society. So be mindful. To all those who identify as men, we need to be mindful of this. I didn't just talk to women, I talked to everybody. Because if we don't change that in how we talk, how we walk, how we connect with people, they pay the price. And if they pay the price, we pay the price. See, there's this thing called collective, this thing called community. There's this ugly C word, community. And for some reason, our society is moving away from that. Everything's becoming so insular, isolated. You can do everything by yourself. You don't need anybody anymore. You need groceries, order them online. You want Christmas gifts, order them online. You want to go to the bank, drive through. Who needs to talk to a human being? But see, the essence of who we are, is a social creature. And if you forget to invest in each other, if all we care about is what you do for a living, and so that defines who you are, rather than asking, who are you as a person, and by the way, how do you pay your bills? Well, that should be the question, because then we show genuine interest in people. And those of you who are great at what you do will know that genuine interest in people gets people excited. They buy in. They care. They feel value. They feel empowered. And the best teams I've been on, whether it's business or in sports, are those where every person feels that they are a big part of it, where every person has a voice, where every person feels valued. Power is overrated. Throughout history, we know what power has done. Wars, famine, rape, injustice, racism, sexism, ageism, that's all power and fear-based. Be brave, rise up. Like Azuka said, it takes one person. And maybe one person isn't one to change the entire world, but if you choose not to, you're part of the problem. I named my company New History Consulting. New history. And I agonize over this. I'm the kind of person who, again, sorry, honey, to my wife, I'll wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and go, oh, babe, I have an idea. Should I call it this? And he goes, oh, babe, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Let me sleep. And I go, no, but listen to this. New history made so much sense to me because it made sense to my life. The history that I carried with me dragged me down. It told me that my value was less than it really was. And so what I started doing in my business, as I discovered after I was doing it, was that I helped people create a new history for themselves. We can't undo the past, but we can undo the damage of the past by making sure that we let go of that baggage to move forward with greater clarity and bravery. Now, is that scary? Sure. But is it worthwhile? Oh, hell yes. I can stand here today and tell you that I'm insecure about my value, that sometimes I'm nervous about people judging me, and I hope that I'm good enough. I can tell you that I've had issues around my body and my self-worth for years and years and years, that I've hurt people, that I've been hurt by people, and that I have had regrets and shame around that. But I stand in my truth. Because because I acknowledge it, it allows me to learn. It allows me then to grow, which then allows me to thrive. I want to invite you to learn, grow, and thrive. Thank you very much.